Chapter 1.1 is all on patterns and expressions. This gets you thinking algebraically. So I'm going to show you a pattern. I want you to draw the next figure. You have to look at all the different aspects of what the pattern is doing. So the first thing I notice is that this is a three-sided figure, and this one is a four-sided figure, and this one is a five-sided figure. So the next figure I draw is probably going to have to be a six-sided figure. So I'm going to do my best to draw that. And that's finishing the pattern. Alright, example 2, draw the next figure. So first thing I notice is that on each side I just have one block, but now I have 2 in the second figure, and now I have 3 in the third figure. So the fourth figure should be a square in the middle with 4 blocks on each side. I never professed to be an artist, so y'all just bear with me. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm talking about. Just a sketch. Alright, give an example of each. A variable is a symbol that represents one or more numbers. So the symbol is normally a letter. So let's say that a variable could be an N or an X or a T or a Q, any letter you want it to be. It could be any kind of symbol, though. You got to keep that in mind. Then there's the numerical expression, and a numerical expression is numbers and operations, like 2 plus 3. Expressions have no equal signs. That's for both of those. So a numerical expression is just going to have numbers and operations. You could also have parentheses, so like 3 times 8 plus 2. When they say to do something with an expression, they're probably going to say evaluate. And that's going to be like if you told me that 2 plus 3 is 5. Or that 3 times 8 plus 2 is 30. You're evaluating the expression. And then there's the algebraic expression. And when you think of algebra, you think of variables. And algebraic expressions are no different. They are numbers, operations, and variables together. So 3n plus 5 or 8x plus 2 times 5n. Now for these, you cannot evaluate this because you don't know what n is, so that's as far as you can go. They may tell you to simplify these, but they won't tell you to evaluate. All right, moving on. A pattern. So what I have again is another pattern, and they want you to carry this pattern all the way out to the 20th figure. Well, on one hand, you could draw that pattern over and over and over and over and over again, but on the other hand, nobody has that much time and nobody cares that much. So I'm going to show you how to do it a much faster way. If you will organize your thinking into a table and say the number of figure, so the first figure, and the second figure, and the third figure. And then the next one's going to be what we're doing to it, and we call that the process column. And then the next one's going to be the number of toothpicks. Most of the time it's what they're asking for. Okay? So in the first figure, I have 4 toothpicks. Now, I don't put anything in the process column yet because I haven't looked at the pattern close enough to know what I'm doing. In the second figure, I have 8 toothpicks. In the third figure, I have 12 toothpicks. And this is going to continue So what am I doing? Could be, and when I say doing, I'm saying how do I get from 4 to 8? Well, I could add 4, but 1 plus 4 is not 4. 2 plus 4 is not 8. 3 plus 4 is not 12. Maybe I'm multiplying by 4. 1 times 4. 2 times 4. 3 times 4. So each time this number is the number that's changing, so that's going to be my n. My equation is going to be n times 4, and that's going to tell me how many toothpicks I have for any figure. So if they ask me for the 20th figure, I'm going to do 20 times 4, and that's going to give me 80 toothpicks. This has everything to do with organization and just being able to follow a pattern. All right. B, what is an expression that describes the number of toothpicks in the nth figure? Well, I replaced the number figure with 20. So the number figure is the nth figure. So I'm going to replace it with n, and I'm going to say n times 4, or 4n. Okay, how many tiles are in the 25th figure? Well, in the first figure, there are 4 tiles. In the second figure, there are 6. In the third, there are 8. In the nth, how many are there? So, how did I get, so this first one's going to be number figure, second one's going to be process, and the third one's going to be number tiles. How did I get from 1 to 4, and then from 2 to 6, and then from 3 to 8? And you have to remember that you have to use the same rule every time. I'm gonna ask you to pause it right here and think about it, and then I'll tell you in just a second. Okay, so I thought about it, and I realized that I always started with this section, and I was building on to this end. So I thought, well, I'm going to multiply and then add. So my first thought was I'm going to do 4 times something and get my first 4 tiles, and then I was going to add something multiplied. But if I did that, that'd be 4 times 1, and then I'd already have my 4 tiles, and I wouldn't have to multiply anything, and that wouldn't work for down here. So I thought, well, let's do 2, and we'll start with these 2 tiles, and then I'm going to have to do 2 times 1 to get these other 2, and that gives me my 4. So the 2 times 1 is now going to change to 2 times 2 for the next one, and let's see if that gives me my 6. So I start with my first 2, and then I add 2 times 2, which is 4, and I get 6. And then the next one, I start with my 2, and then I add 2 times 3. I'm replacing the 2 with the number I'm replacing is with 3, and then I get 8. So my expression is going to be 2 plus 2n. And if they want my 25th figure, all I have to do is 2 plus 2 times 25, which happens to be 52 tiles. Okay, so this is the part of the video where I want you to stop, pause it. I want you to answer my questions. So you need to follow by the first set of directions, do 1 and 2, and then follow by the second set of directions, and then do 3 and 4. And then you keep that on a sheet of paper with your name on it. and you bring it to me at the beginning of class tomorrow. Okay? If you don't do that, it's going to be like you didn't watch the video and you're not going to get any credit for homework.